Hey, brothers and sisters. Yesterday was today too. Listening to Roger Kuhn. You know, Roger Kuhn is the guy that is the expert on the Adventist Church. So it's very good sermons on the history of the Adventist Church, 1898 message, everything. The only thing I realized is a big false doctrines taught by the church. So it needs to be addressed because people cannot continue to teach this garbage in church because millions of people, they believe they're saved by the conference, the organization saves you. It becomes idolatry and stupidity, and this is the side of the church that is what we can call a cult. It's a cult when you think the organization saves you. It's a bunch of nonsense. So Sister White, in her writing, she says that we leave the truth. Not Seventh Adventist is not a member of the church, a card member. A Seventh Adventist is someone that believes in the strange message. Anyone who is conference, non-conference, anyone that just believes this is a Seventh Adventist, whether they're conference or whatever, or they live in a mountain by themselves. They are Seventh Adventists. They believe in this truth. But the thing is that people now they get the idea that they say by the organization, but it's repeated so much, brothers and sisters, that people they really believe it. You see in hello, sorry, they believe that, and the guys, Roger Kuhn, and many of the leaders they would say that, and Ted Wilson too. It's a bunch of garbage, brothers and sisters. It's a false doctrine. It's a false doctrine, and they claim to be the people that don't teach any false doctrine. This is a doctrine from the pit of hell, that you are saved by the organization. It is a cult teaching. So Roger Kuhn is very good, but he's misled on this point. He thinks that many people, they leave the church and they leave the truth, they go to hell. Something like this, you know? Many people who are in the church, they are left the church, they left the truth. You don't have to leave the truth. You don't have to leave the organization to leave the truth, brothers and sisters. Millions of Adventists, they're sitting in the pews every Sabbath and they left the truth totally in the mind, but they just keep going to church. And many people that left the church, they're still in the truth. They were just so offended by the organization, they don't want to have anything to do with it. We have the case of A.T. Jones Morgan. They always teach that these guys were they left the church and they went into darkness. But really likely, you know, when you read the story, they were abused so much by the Adventists, they were humiliated and insulted by them so much that they left the church. They don't want to do anything with it. They mocked them so much, you know. In the 1898 message, I was listening to the stories, which is fascinating, and they say that unless Ellne G White would have been interposed, they would have just kicked them out from the church. When they came to the 1888 conference, every Adventist delegate, they would have kicked them out. They see this is a bunch of garbage, these young people are stupid, and we kick them out. You can imagine that. So they left the organization, but it does not mean they left the truth. We don't know. The truth is not the organization. The truth is the true and just message. But this is a false teaching. This is a false teaching from the Adventist Church, believing that anyone that leaves the organization goes to hell, which is not true, because Sister White says millions of Adventists will not go to heaven. Millions are lost. She said not 1 in 20 is converted. The unconverted people. A bunch of unconverted people. So it's not because you are in the organization you saved, because you know, Ellne G White says most Adventists are not saved. They're lost. They're totally lost. And people that leave the organization because they don't want to be part of a stupid movement, which is very teach false doctrines. You know, the truth is Ellne G White and the Bible. But then being saved by the church is a bunch of nonsense. We don't find this. We don't find this in the Bible. And but many of the leaders that will teach this thing, they will repeat this, that unless you're in the organization, unless you are in the organization, you are lost. And but it's, do you know, Ted Wilson said that, Roger Kuhn said that, other people too. Roger Kuhn gives a story of all the people that left the church. How do we know? How do we know that people are saved, they're lost, or whatever? They don't know. It's just guessing, because people, they just don't want to be part of it, because depending on how people treated them, they don't want to have part of it. But it's not what Sister White says. She says living the truth, not leaving the organization. Sister White don't say if you leave the organization you go to hell. That's not what Sister White says. It's a doctrine from demons added by the church. Because I was studying the shaking. It's a very interesting topic, and they teach it wrong. They think the shaking is caused by false doctrines. No, it's caused by the straight testimony. Our Jekun would not explain what the straight testimony is. It doesn't want to. It doesn't know. Maybe, I don't know. Is because the straight testimony is people that just sent to the church to rebuke and clean up, and part of it is going to be the false doctrines. They suppose that the false doctrines come from outside the church. Nowhere does it say that in the Spirit Prophecy or the Bible. In fact, Ellne G White says many preachers will have the torch of Satan. So many preachers who have a license from the Adventist conference will have a torch of false prophecy from Satan. And he's talking about the conference churches. They said many of them. So she's not talking about the independent ministry. It is true that independent ministry have false doctrines too, but this is she says many lights that we have admired will go out into darkness, and we teach doctrines of demons. She's talking about conference people, not non-conference. So you see, we need to be careful what we listen to, and I'm so glad, brothers and sisters, that this is because the leaders of the church, they're abusing the power, teaching a bunch of garbage to people, and people, they get misled, they get confused, thinking confused that if you're not in the conference, you go to hell. It's a bunch of nonsense. In fact, if you stay in the conference, it's more likely, it's like they say, if you don't see the doctor, you have more chance to be in good health than go see a doctor. It's the same thing. If you don't belong to the conference, you have more chance to go into heaven than not conference. Because if you go to the conference, you're going to be lukewarm most of the time. The sermons I listen to most other Adventist churches, there's a bunch of sleepy stuff. I mean, it's very boring, extremely boring sermons, brothers and sisters. If I don't listen to the independent ministry, then it's totally. This is where I listen to the truth, independent ministry. What's his name? Pastor Stephen Lewis, Bill Hughes, David Gates. All these people much better. They teach you fresh light from heaven. Because the Adventist church, they have another false belief, is that they believe if you study anything new, you go to hell. It's very dangerous. They think that any new light is very dangerous. It's not true. It's a lie too. It's a false doctrine they're teaching. Because Sister White didn't say that. She said, be careful of new teaching. But she says you have to much light has to shine from the Daniel and Revelation. She says God will send men out of the usual order to teach new light to the people. So we need to correctly divide the word of God. We cannot teach nonsense to people. Like Roger Kuhn and other people, and even the Standish, they say that the shaking is caused by the false doctrines. It's not true. It's caused by the straight testimony. The thing that almost no Adventists have any clue what the thing is about, the straight testimony. So here it is, brothers and sisters. We have to tell by ourselves, because we're not even saved by the conference teaching. You're not safe, because you get a bunch of nonsense taught there. The worst of all is that they will believe that they cannot err. It's like the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church cannot err outside the truth. So here's the same thing. The conference people really they have many false doctrines, and they think they don't have. So, and it's dangerous because you can lose your soul. Like the doctrine of Ellne G White is a lesser light, is a bunch of nonsense. We don't find this in the Bible. Sister White said lesser light. Says John the Baptist was a lesser light. She says every prophet by themselves is a lesser light. So you put all the prophets together, you got a light. She said the Old Testament was lesser light. Can you imagine that? Old Testament was a lesser light, she said. John the Baptist was a lesser light. Every prophet by themselves, Isaiah, Jeremiah, everything, they're a lesser light. You put them all together, you get the greater light, which is Jesus. So then they don't read carefully the writings of Ellne G White, and they get into bunch of garbage. They teach garbage to the people. So here it is, brothers and sisters. You need to study by yourselves. Study by yourselves the word of God, the spirit of prophecy. Because the leading men are out into darkness, many of them. And these doctrines of demons, they can lose your soul. If you don't believe that Ellne G White is a true prophet like Isaiah, Jeremiah, everything, you receive a false doctrine. And you will not benefit it. You will read her writings and you will think she is just counseling. You know, it's not counseling. Most Adventists today, they read her writings, they think, oh, it's good counseling. It's nonsense. It's the word of God, the same as the Bible. But she's not in the Bible. Like Enoch is not in the Bible. Like Huldah is not in the Bible. Like all the prophets, like Nathan, Gad, all these prophets from the Old Testament, they're not found in the Bible. God bless you.